We're talking in this video about what it's like to date an Aries woman. Aries is absolutely one of my favorite signs. Aries is the child of the Zodiac, and people with strong Aries placements have this energy and childlike excitement. They get mad a little bit like a child would do. They have that same level of spontaneity. They are almost naive in this very endearing kind of way. You know, they're stubborn in the same way that a child might be. Of course, Aries is ruled by Mars, so when these individuals do get angry as full-grown adults, it is actually very scary, right? They have very famous tempers and they can throw their tantrums. The thing is though, is that their anger and whatever usually subsides as fast as it, comes along. They usually are not known for holding grudges, for the most part. When we're talking about the context of dating, Aries women, they love the early dating phase, right? They get that childlike excitement. Every time they fall in love with someone new or they're starting to fall in love with a new person, it's almost like they get the same feelings welling back up, like, they were in high school and how they felt during their very first time that they fell in love. Aries women do respond in a lot of ways to more traditional forms of like courtship and chivalry, right? And they want a man who is gonna be romantic and take her out on dates. And, as a fire sign, like an Aries woman wants to go out and experience, and they wanna experience romance, not just like as a feeling, but as a whole experience. Really what they enjoy is the excitement. So some people say, make it a little bit of a challenge or put up a little challenge. It doesn't mean like be obstinate or play hard to get with the Aries woman. They really they like the challenge because they like the excitement of that. They like the uncertainty of not knowing what quite is gonna happen next. And, don't create uncertainty by being unreliable or hot and cold. You create that excitement by being creative about how you're handling the courting phase, about how you tell them you like them, or the places that you take them. You need to be a really strong person in order to court an Aries and to kind of hold their attention for a long period of time. Aries women are incredibly sexy, they're strong, they're independent, they're powerful, right? They have, as I said earlier, big tempers. All that makes for someone that is not for the faint of heart. Weak men need not apply. But that doesn't necessarily mean that doing these very romantic, emotional things makes the person weaker. It's not going to make them weak in the eyes of the Aries woman. She still wants someone that is going to get on their knees and wear their heart on their sleeve and maybe write her love notes and do very kind of traditionally cutesy things. What we mean by needing to be a strong person is just that you should never at any time make the Aries woman, your sole object of your desire, or step off your own platform or step out of your own frame. An Aries woman really respects someone that has their own interests, their own non-negotiables, their own passions, the things that they really truly care about. And it's okay if they conflict with what the Aries woman thinks, right? Or what she's interested in or what her beliefs are. She wants to see someone that has a strong sense of self. So when that person, does court her and does do kind of these grand romantic gestures, it really truly means something, right? And it should mean something. You shouldn't just be, figuring out how to court an Aries woman because, she's an Aries and you want to court her, right? It should be because you want to do these things and that's how you express yourself. None of it should be for manipulative reasons. There also is a playful little power struggle in some ways. It's not the power struggle we would think about for more immature or younger 20s people or teens, where it's just I'm gonna pretend, that I like you less and I'm gonna do it better than you're gonna do it to me. If y'all are young, and that could be something, but that kind of is something that transcends zodiac signs. What I'm talking about for Aries, right, is that during conversation or as you're getting to know each other, Aries women appreciate being challenged a little bit, right? Don't agree with everything they say. Or they might be a little bit blunt, rough around the edges sometimes. You might say something and just out of curiosity, they might just retort back and challenge something. Sometimes they do this because they're actually just trying to be playful and they're trying to tease you and challenge you. Sometimes they do it because they're just like genuinely curious and that's how they have conversation. And they're just very direct and honest, and they don't always mean to be so blunt, but sometimes it just comes across that way. So if you're talking about like, oh, I know how like mezcal is brewed and and you really know how it is. And she's like, no, I know. And like, you're wrong. Like, don't put her on a pedestal and be like, oh man, like maybe I'm wrong actually. Like, no, like challenge her, be like, no, you're wrong. Like I know. And unlike Aries opposite sign, Libra, which kind of like hates conflict at all costs, always kind of wants harmony, doesn't really get so stimulated by conflict in a conversation. Aries does, right? It's not bad. It's like a form of rapport building. It's a form of attraction. So don't shy away from that. And if it's something that you're not really comfortable with, like maybe that is something to think about sort of long term. Aries female will sometimes say things and they just don't mean to be so blunt. You might drop some story and you're talking about how you reacted to it and she might be like, oh, it sounds like maybe you're just being insecure or like overly emotional in that situation. And maybe you were, but like she doesn't mean to like always rib into you like that. So sometimes you just gotta be like, no, like I actually wasn't being that sensitive. And you know what? Like I think sensitivity is like a strength. So I was completely fine with how I handled that situation. But I don't know, these are like shitty examples, I feel like, but just gives you an idea of just not bowing down to the world that she sees or the narrative that she holds. If you show that you're someone that's going to do that, she's going to lose respect for you, lose attraction for you. That's just it. With Aries women, don't cheat on doing the really like stereotypically fun things over the course of a relationship. So if you ask them to be your girlfriend, don't just like skimp over it, like own it, make it a little thing, right? Aries can be sentimental. I don't know if they're so much sentimental as maybe like a Cancer, but they enjoy, again, the romance. So don't skimp on the steps. I think one thing that sometimes people take for granted in relationships, and this is especially true if you enter into more of a committed relationship with like an Aries female, is that it's like, okay, like now we're a couple, like now we can just like sit at home and do boring things and we don't have to like keep trying to, romance each other and demonstrate our love. That's when an Aries woman is gonna feel boxed in and bored and just like taken for granted. So even as the relationship progresses and even after you're in a more committed phase, you still need to approach it almost like you're dating in the dating phase. Schedule date nights, schedule surprises, keep doing things, invite them to go dancing, push yourself outside your comfort zone. Just keep doing the things that show that like you don't take her love for granted. Aries is ruled by Mars. And also no relationship is without conflict, right? People that say, oh, I'm in a relationship and like we never fight. I'm always skeptical of that, right? Because there needs to be some conflict. Conflict is what creates dynamism. Conflict creates productive change. And it's a part of any relationship. And usually it's not about, oh, do we or don't we fight? It's more about, oh, do we fight in like compatible and productive ways? With Aries, ruled by Mars, like there are gonna be fights and there are gonna be quarrels. And the good thing about Aries females is that when they are upset about something, you can usually tell, right? They're a highly sensitive, highly emotional sign. It's like when a kid is upset, like they don't have the care or even the ability to kind of like hold it inside or cover it, right? So it kind of just comes out when it comes out. The nice thing is it means like, all right, they're probably not secretly holding on to a grudge. The downside is it's like, all right, is this really the time? Like we're driving to this party, like I really don't want to have a fight right now and then like have to go into the party and like pretend we're fine. Just something to be aware of. Everything with Aries women is varying levels of a competition, that can be anything from kind of light and fun teasing as you're flirting or roasting each other more as established partners. But sometimes it extends to like other things, right? Things that you're doing in your life. Maybe you're starting some kind of like side hustle or project And like, it's going to inspire Aries to do the same thing. And like that competition in the context of a relationship, and there's a lot of good to that, right? It keeps both people active and learning from each other. I think the most difficult and the most important thing to keep in mind with Aries women is that sometimes that competition also extends into, having tougher emotional conversations, or, when we're talking about emotional conflict. It can be really hard for Aries women sometimes to always admit that they're wrong. Sometimes it's hard for them to acknowledge and remember, hey, like we're both on the same team here. Instead of looking at a fight as like, oh, there's gotta be a winner and there's gotta be a loser. Fights can be seen as like, okay, how can both people be winners, and how can we achieve the best possible outcome that's going to either make people feel better or like address an actual problem. In that regard, like, do we even know what the actual problem is in this fight? That's a very like Libran approach to conflict in a relationship. And Aries sometimes, as its opposite, has a harder time with that. I think that one of the worst shadow sides of Aries females is that when you get upset at them, or you get mad at them, or there is a really intense issue that has really affected you, maybe they did something that really, really hurt your feelings and you're having a hard time with it. When you go to explain like why it bothered you so much, they'll sometimes in return have such an intense reaction to it. It's like they feel so guilty that they caused you to feel like this. This is not always. Sometimes they're just going to be obstinate and pissed at you. But I mean, sometimes, they are going to demonstrate, oh, like I'm very empathetic. Like I feel so bad that, I made you do this. But it almost like brings the lens back onto them. It becomes like less like them able to really like acknowledge it and own it and say, I'm sorry. And it's more like, oh, I feel so, it's a little bit more of an it's mostly unconscious way for them to kind of make it about them. And that is always sort of like the stereotypical shadow side of Aries, is sometimes they do have a little bit of an innate selfishness, and it's connected to what makes them so great and spontaneous and fun and childlike and all those things. But sometimes on more complex emotional issues, it's very hard for them to approach it objectively and without putting their ego in front of it. It's hard for all of us, but it can be especially hard for an Aries woman. The TLDR though, or the big takeaways, is that Aries woman is someone that is unlike any other woman. She has such an energy, such a zest for life. She's so passionate about the things that she's passionate about, and she takes that Martian strength, right? That Martian power, and applies it towards the things that she cares about. So when she truly loves you and when she's like truly committed to you, it is like, in some level, there's some scorpionic traits there. There's some loyalty there. She will like pick up a sword and wield a sword to defend you or to defend the relationship if she truly feels it's aligned with who she is. Sometimes Aries women have a reputation for being like unfaithful or unreliable, or, maybe they have wandering eyes. This is really like happens mainly in the context of where Aries woman is in a situation that's just not aligned with the life that she wants. And she needs excitement, she needs stimulation, she needs that kind of novelty. It doesn't have to be from other people or partners. Or I should say romantic partners, right? She's gonna wanna meet a lot of people. She's tends to be very extroverted. She tends to be very charming and sexy. Like, you have to be very secure in yourself and be okay with the fact that she may have a lot of different friends and a lot of different male friends. So respect that, but also, like I said earlier, continue to bring excitement and ideas and adventure and interest in doing things into the relationship. Find ways to share in that novelty together. It's really when an Aries woman feels incredibly boxed in, they feel like the relationship has become less about this fun enjoyment with two people that really love each other, and more like this sense of duty and constriction and routine. That's when Aries woman, just for her own like sanity and essence, might break out. And if she feels that she can't like get through to you anymore, or that you won't really understand, or maybe if you've been kind of pressuring her or trying to control her, that's when you're going to see the Aries woman break out, right? And like I said, Aries is ruled by Mars, and if they decide they want to break out, they will. But it's not something you should really worry about. Take care of her needs, make her happy. She will in turn be a very loyal lover, someone that's going to bring a lot of life and love to your life. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.